Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing on with Soap Bubble by Artistfingers, and today we are doing chapter 2, and I'm just going to apologize if it sounds a little rough. I'm pretty sure my voice sounds a little different today, but I haven't recorded in like 2 weeks and I know I need to do it, so hopefully it sounds okay. Whoa, Suki, you look like a zombie. Kei pauses brushing his teeth just long enough to grunt. Shut up. Tadashi, unsurprised, grabs Kei's toothpaste. He's been copying it all week after forgetting half his toiletries on the counter at home. Didn't sleep well? He asks. Bad dreams? Tadashi's words are warped around his toothbrush. Something like that. Dangerous thoughts, more accurately. Dangerous along the lines of maybe. All the far-off what-ifs he'd entertained in a sort of masochistic meditation over that last year had suddenly become a lot more tangible in the last 12 hours. A little more susceptible to maybe. And every stray maybe, each smooth stone dropping into his palm, makes his heart thrill, an unsteady beat in his chest. It's a little like hope and a lot like anticipation. It's dizzyingly powerful, disorienting. It's too real. At the same time, it's not real at all. Because what does he really have to go off of? Kageyama's word? A number of his own interactions with Hinata? A giggle? Untenable, squishy, frustrating things. Why Hinata? Kei wants to know. That's what Kageyama had been getting at last night, and sure, Kei had answered him. He knows why, on a technical level. He's spent enough time wondering this before to come to a few conclusions. It still feels like some big cosmic joke, him liking Hinata, liking him this much. The more he lets himself think about it in these broad, plain terms, the more he can't stop thinking about it, the more frustrated he gets. Damn these stupid feelings that he has no say over. It should have been someone else, anyone else at all. Someone a little more his speed, or a little less Hinata. Like, he thinks of Tadashi first, standing at his elbow, baring his teeth in the mirror, and commenting that Kei's toothpaste tastes funny. Kei spits and rinses his mouth. Use someone else's then. He's known Tadashi longer than anybody. That counts for a lot despite the rarity of Kei saying so. Tadashi is, hands down, his closest friend. Liking him wouldn't be so infuriating. For sensitive gums, Tadashi reads off the toothpaste. That must be why. It's delicate because you're sensitive. Look, recommended by 9 out of 10. Kei snatches it away and abandons a laughing Tadashi to his own devices. Not Tadashi. Who else? He instantly disregards the idea of Kageyama. It makes him shudder. But then finds he's exhausted the extremely short list of people he openly more than tolerates. Well, there's Yachi, who's nice, but she's disqualified on the grounds of her gender. And there's the rest of the Kurasano team and the alum who, sure, he spends a lot of time with. Volleyball practice, walks to Sakanoshita, training camps, tournaments. They know he's mean and they don't care. And in turn, he's only half serious when he's disparaging. Sometimes. But they're not close. He doesn't even want to hang out with them in his otherwise unstructured leisure time. He shoulders his way into the team's communal room to grab a fresh set of towels. Kinoshita and Tanaka are both yawning as they pass Kei on their way out. Narita hangs back in search of a missing second sock, nodding at Kei as he zips up his jacket. Kei nods back. He stretches his imagination a bit. There's got to be someone he can point to and say, let's dwell on him instead, thanks. And maybe the untamable beast that lives in his chest will listen for once. There's Kuro. They text on and off, and have ever since that first Tokyo camp. But Kei wouldn't call them friends, even if Kuro would. He's kind of grating and not in a fun way. From Tokyo, there's also Bokuto and Akashi. Bokuto had started a group chat to pester Kei and Akashi simultaneously, begging for details about both new teams and sending them blurry pictures of birds. But Bokuto is more than Kei cares to deal with, and both him and Akashi are pretty much spoken for anyway. Of non-friends, who even is there? A few people he speaks to on a surface level in his classes, or the guy at the record shop that Kei and Tadashi agree is cute in an androgynous way. The guys his brother plays volleyball with, but they're about 6 years too old and they think Akateru is cool, which means they have bad taste. They're not in the running. Then there's Hinata. Simultaneously, his biggest rival and most consistent companion in this stupid sport he somehow dedicated himself to, making him work harder and be better even when he doesn't want to. With Hinata, those things are even kind of interesting, if not fun. At some point, Hinata had stopped cowering from Kei's comments and instead started slinging them back with a laugh. Hinata, who Kei starry-eyed smiles and fawns over his height and kill blocks, who cracks up at his dry movie night commentary to the point Yachi has to shush them, who looks at Kei in a way that makes him think maybe just a little too often, and that Kei's not the only one who sees it. It's just that the way he seeks Kei out and leans in sometimes makes Kei think Hinata's happy because of him. Even when Kei's doing what he always does, even when he's prickly and envious and quitting before the finish line. Hinata acts like he just wants to be around Kei. Full stop. No strings attached, no conditions. Not even Akateru and Tadashi always take him at face value like that. An unnameable heat wiggles through him, making his fingers quiver. He winds them tightly through the straps of his bag. It bites grooves into his skin. He holds until Kei's mind buzzes around the sensation. Only then does he unfurl his fingers and press air slowly out of his lungs. It never could have been anyone else but Hinata, could it? He's so screwed. But rocks eventually sink to the bottom of the stream, and that's where they stay, even if the current is trying to pull them up to the surface. This isn't any different. If he can leave it alone long enough, maybe these feelings will fade to the point he can paint over them. It's the second to last day of training camp, the final punishing stretch that precedes tomorrow's game. By now, the routine is well ingrained. Get up, eat, do warm-ups, runs, drills, lunch, rinse and repeat until the team's ready to drop. It should be mind-numbing and exhausting enough to keep him from thinking too much. He tugs on his socks, then he has to pull the left one off and flip it right side out. Narita is waiting for him, hanging by the door and scrolling through his phone. Kei swigs back his meds with a mouthful from his water bottle, and they head downstairs. The dorm dining room is crammed with mismatched tables and chairs left over from odd places around the campus. One table looks suspiciously like it came out of the teacher's office, and it sits at a slant. Half of the chairs wobble. Obviously, the entire pack's been sent here to live out their final days. The majority of the team is already eating, barring Tadashi and Saito, who are still upstairs. A quick glance reveals Inoshida and Tanaka are also missing, probably meeting with coach to strategize for the upcoming match. Kei's traitorous heart skips when he sees Hinata. But Hinata's back is to the entrance, and he's fully immersed in the debate he's conducting with Kageyama. There's an entire buffet spread among where they're sitting with Nishinoya, Ishii, Yamamoto, and Kase. Kei swallows against something sticky and uncomfortable in his throat. Hinata and Kageyama had both already been up by the time Kei's alarm rattled him awake at 7. Off on their high-energy early morning whatever, So realistically, nothing should be any different from the way it was yesterday. But it is. Kageyama glances over. Kei cuts a hand over his neck and promises death. Kageyama scoffs. Kei waits for a tense moment, but he doesn't try to direct Hinata's attention. Just cuts off something Yamamoto is saying as he hotly rejoins the argument. Kei is still deciding whether Kageyama is a decent person or not, because despite Kageyama's best efforts, Kei is starting to begrudgingly suspect that he's actually alright by most standards. He and Narita snag the last few servings of rice out of the cooker before Yachi burns herself on the metal lining when she goes to refill it. Kei tells her to ice her fingers. "Thanks, Tsukishima-kun," Yachi says, voice and eyes watery as she cradles her hand. "Why does this always happen to me?" He flicks the indicator from cook over to keep warm. The rice in his bowl looks crunchy, not a difficult deduction. "Maybe that's why." "Shoot," Yachi mumbles. "These ones don't automatically switch over?" "Probably broken." Narita shoots Yachi a little smile, too, as she wobbles one back. "Want an egg?" he asks Kei. "They're soft-boiled." "Sure." Kei catches Yachi's eye to remind her, "Ice that," before he makes a plate. He and Narita split again when Kei snags a cup and waits for it to fill. He sees the moment Hinata notices him, mouth full, a smudge of sauce on his chin. He brightens and waves Kei over. Like instinct, he nearly takes a step towards him. Instead, he turns and sits with Narita by the window. Narita is a middle blocker, so they spend a decent amount of time practicing together. He doesn't bother much with small talk, which Kei likes about him, but there's no saving the situation with comfortable silence. "Hey!" Hinata bleats across the room. "What the heck? Suki, come sit with us. Narita, you too." "Ignore him," Kei grits out. "Maybe he'll die." Narita's shoulders shake as he holds back a laugh. "Suki!" Kei shifts so that his back is fully to Hinata. "Ugh! Don't ignore me!" Kei shoves rice into his mouth and chews quickly. Maybe if he eats like an animal for once in his life, he can escape having to make eye contact with Hinata until at least noon. Maybe he can preserve whatever tiny shreds of dignity he still got after his dishroom conversation with Kageyama. "Suki!" "I think Hinata's calling you," Narita says. "No, he isn't," Kei says. Because if Hinata is calling him, then Kei has to deal with the fact that Hinata probably, almost certainly, likes him. And not just that, the fact is Hinata probably likes him back. For every daydream he's indulged, he's never actually anticipated this kind of thing. Static nerves trawl along the nape of his neck, and his heartbeat jackhammers in his throat. It's not entirely unpresent, but it's not what he wants. These toes-on-the-ledge nerves. He'd told Kageyama nothing would come of it. He'd also told Kageyama he didn't care. But this feels a lot like caring. It's not doing him any good. At this rate, his heart is going to give out, and the whole thing is going to put him in an early grave, which he can freely admit would be the most pathetic way to die ever documented, killed by a boy liking him. Maybe. But Hinata doesn't care about the state of Kei's well-being, or maybe he's gleefully and intentionally wreaking havoc on it. He's scampering over, laden with plates. Kageyama is following, though disgruntled and still chewing half a piece of toast. "You're so difficult," Hinata announces, hooking his shoe around a chair leg and dragging it out to sit beside Kei. Kei sighs loudly. "Jerk!" Hinata kicks at Kei's chair with enough force to jar him off kilter. "Jerky Shima!" "I didn't say anything." Kei scoots himself center again. "You sighed. You think I'm the difficult one." Kei shrugs. "And you're proving it." "You didn't even acknowledge me. What was I supposed to do?" Hinata complains, draping himself on the table. Kei rescues his water from toppling at the last second. You're supposed to leave me alone when I give you the cold shoulder.
Impossible! I can't do that!
Kei bites the urge to sigh again. You're like a gnat.
A what?
A gnat. A biting one. Kei says.
Gnats don't bite,
Hinata says. They most certainly do.
I don't bite.
You most certainly do. You would know, Tsukishima. Kageyama snipes. Or maybe you want to find out. Kei sharpens his most menacing smile. Kindly shut your mouth, your majesty.
You should defend me, Kageyama, Hinata says. He's not backing out of Kei's space. In fact, he props an elbow on the table and drops his cheek into his hand, like he intends to stay. He's warm, bleeding it off with each breath. It makes the hairs along Kei's arm stand to attention. Why? Kageyama asks. He's right. You're annoying. Hinata huffs. Nobody appreciates me.
I appreciate you, Narita says, placating and unamused.
Thank you,
Hinata says. Narita redirects the conversation. Ready for the match tomorrow, Hinata? Hinata doesn't hesitate to take the bait.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to try out the new version of the synchro attack we've been working on.
Kei huffs, nudging a few grains of rice into a circle. Hinata doesn't let it slide.
Don't tell me you're doubting us all of a sudden.
Sudden? Look at the year so far. How are we going to win anything? Kei says. And, unless you haven't noticed, the synchro attack is in tatters, so don't even try it tomorrow.
It's new! We have to use it to fine-tune it.
Kageyama mumbles something Kei doesn't quite catch, but he rounds on him anyway. Lost whatever unfounded confidence you had yesterday, King. Can't say I'm surprised. Picking on Kageyama is only a distraction, but at least it's a decent one. And that's what he needs, because Hinata is close. And looking at him from this sharp nearby angle had reignited that bone-deep flush. Distraction is easier, too, than shifting away. I may be confident, but I'm not stupid. Could have fooled me. Or blind. Kageyama goes on, like Kei hadn't interjected. We can beat Kesanaiki. We're good, but not everything is working together yet. So maybe you should fix your tosses and the synchro then. Kei drones. Kageyama's glare could practically boil ice water. Eat dirt, Tsukishima. Kei scoffs. When's the last time that attack worked anyway, King? It's been a while, hasn't it? Working with the two new middle blockers and wing spiker that had joined the team this year has been a bit of a hurdle for Kageyama, especially with the synchronized attack that used to be Sugawara's territory. And not just that, he's also seen Kageyama struggling with Yamamoto. He probably misses 9 times out of 10, even with Kageyama's all but perfect tosses. He has none of the unskilled innate talent Hinata had come charging in with, and as a result, there'd been more than one intervention to prevent Kageyama from biting off heads over the last few weeks. Kei's not holding his tongue about it. There's few enough chances to lord something over Kageyama when it comes to volleyball.
He's getting there. We're getting there.
Hinata jumps in, defensive, like Kei had dissed him. Oh, really? Kei mutters,
Really?
Meeting Hinata's gaze is a mistake. The weight of it crushes the air out of his lungs, but after a moment, Hinata decides to regale the whole table instead of just Kei. Small mercies. Kei tries to inhale, subtle but deep.
Kase and Iguchi are getting really good with the blocking patterns, and I know Ishii has been working really hard with Tanaka. Have you seen the power he can get now? Even Moto-kun's getting the hang of things. Yesterday, he pulled off a quick attack like 3 times in a row, and the last one was with Kageyama even. Right, Yama?
Yeah. Kageyama grunts, but he seems to be watching Kei. Kei clenches his jaw and wills himself into a non-reaction.
Something about all of this feels out of control, inevitable, a train off its tracks. Wild and reckless, his stomach is an anxious, swooping freefall. Hinata is so close. Why hasn't he moved away? Morning. Tadashi sidles up, announcing his arrival. Tadashi! Hinata all but cheers. You're finally up? More or less. Tadashi covers his yawn with a hand, sliding his plate into the empty spot beside Kageyama. We're talking about the Kesanaiki match, Hinata says. I think we're going to do really well. Even without our grads? Tadashi asks. Definitely. We're pretty shaky, Tadashi says, uncertain. Have been at every match so far. What's going to make Kesanaiki any different? Golden Week, obviously, Hinata says. No way we're not going to see it pay off. This week, they've done countless partner drills, served until their arms were numb, and rotated endlessly through mock sets. Back to basics, over and over and over, under Ukai's watchful eye. The only word Kei can find for it is brutal. He thinks pessimistically about how Sawamura isn't there to save any of their asses, how they can't quite depend on Tanaka's power the way they did with Azumane, how Sugawara is not around to change the tides, no matter how much his methods grated on Kei's nerves. Tadashi would say Kei misses the grads. He'd be wrong, but it had almost been comfortable last year's team. Solid. He matched himself on a half-formed thought about one day playing on a team that isn't forced to shift drastically on a yearly basis. He tucks it away for examination at a later date, possibly never.
Doubt it'll sink in that fast,
Kei mutters. Are you allergic to optimism? Hinata asks, exasperated as he tosses his hands in the air.
I'm being realistic. It'll be our first match with the new lineup.
We don't even know the new lineup yet. Tadashi groans, dropping his fork and pushing his plate away. Like a mother hen, Hinata pushes it back to him. Eat! Tadashi shakes his head. I can't, Sho. I'm gonna puke. I'm way too nervous.
Don't worry,
Kageyama says.
Ukai is going to put together the best starting rotation position.
That's not really what I'm worried about, Tadashi sighs.
Then what?
Just, Tadashi pulls a face. About myself, I guess. Because you're gonna be a starter? Hinata asks. We don't know that yet, Tadashi says. But yeah, about being a regular, or that I'm not going to be one.
You're worried both ways?
Kageyama asks, like he's trying to sift through that logic with little success. I get it, Narita says.
Isn't it more pressure to be a pinch server than a regular?
Kei asks. It's different. There's only so much you can do as a pinch server, Tadashi says. He fiddles with his napkin, rolling up the corner, but at least he sits up properly. You can change the tides, but you only get a few rallies per set. Everything you do can be undone as soon as you walk off the court, as opposed to staying out there. There's more you can do at every turn, but also there's more you can mess up. So it's like, what if I'm not good enough? But what if I am? Even though Ukai's announcing starters this morning, they're still contingent on the game. It'll be the true last chance for hopefuls to change Ukai's mind, and for previous regulars to officially stake their claim before the inter-high. But there's no use in pointing that out, so Kei only says,
Relax, it's just a practice match.
Just a practice match. Tadashi repeats under his breath. He pointedly glances around the table. Don't let Kageyama and Hinata hear you say that, Tsuki. Kageyama scoffs.
They've heard me say worse.
Kei replies dryly.
And stop freaking out, Yamaguchi. You're going to be a starter, and you're going to be fine.
How can you sound so sure? Tadashi frets. Kei levels him with an entirely unimpressed look.
It's obvious.
Kei's sure he's not the only one who'd noticed. Tadashi had been on the court non-stop for their endless revolving door of 5-on-5s the other day. and not just as a metal blocker. Ukai had repeatedly thrown him in as a wing spiker, the position they're currently short on. And he'd been taking notes. Even when nothing was happening other than Yamamoto flipping the scorecard or Yachi mumbling play names with Takeda, Ukai was watching. But Tadashi just groans again, shoving his face into his hands. "You're gonna do great, Dashi," Hinata says, all certainty and warmth. "What if Ukai thinks we need more height? Then he'll take Higuchi." "Guess I'm not in the running," Narita says. Tadashi startles. "That's not what I meant." But Narita's laughing. "Who else do you guys think Ukai and Takeda will choose? Obviously, you three are staying in." "Inoshida's in, that's for sure," Hinata says. "And Yamaguchi," Kei says pointedly, though Tadashi whines a little. "It's not even my position," Tadashi mumbles. "It could be Kinoshita or Ishii," Kageyama says. "That's a hard one to call." "Maybe I'll prove my worth," Narita says. "You can do it, Narita!" Hinata says, mouthful, which prompts an immediate lecture from Kageyama, and the two veer into one of their usual arguments. Breakfast continues without further input from Kei. He forces himself to eat half the egg on his plate, then gives up and stares listlessly out the window, wishing he'd brought his headphones downstairs. Outside, a thin layer of fog clings to the ground. The sun is only just starting to turn the world rosy gold. It'll be hot within the hour. Nothing to look forward to, not with the last hours of training ahead of them, and the burning heat that's already radiating just beneath Kei's skin. At least there's one silver lining to Hinata sitting beside him. It's easier to avoid looking directly at him, until the back of Hinata's hand brushes against his fingers for absolutely no reason Kei can discern. His pulse jitters erratically against the soft side of his wrist. It doesn't seem like Hinata noticed. Maybe it wasn't intentional. He drops his hands into his lap and digs the pad of his thumb into the burning stripe across the back of his second knuckles. The feeling lingers anyway. It's only once plates are clear and everyone is bussing their dishes that Hinata pokes him in the arm. "What?" "You haven't said a word in like 15 minutes. He pauses. "Also, we're going." Kei hums. Hinata is far too persistent for Kei's nervous system to take. He can see the silhouettes of their reflections in the glass, indistinct in the way that vanishes if you look at it too close. It's enough to see that Hinata's head is tilted all the way back. "Are you going to try ignoring me all day, Tsukishima? What'd I do?" Hinata asks. His voice is low and teasing. "You know what you did." Hinata props his chin on the heel of his hand. "Yeah?" Kei can't help but look sideways at him. Just the two of them at the table, practically just the two of them in the whole room, and Hinata is here. Kei wants an estimate of space between them. 2 inches? 3? Hinata catches him. His mouth pulls into a private little grin. "You know, if you're ignoring me, you're doing a bad job," he says. Kei doesn't quite dignify that with an answer. He sweeps up his plate. If Hinata wants to be ignored properly, that's fine with him. Time passes. Tadashi is chosen as a starter, and when the team arrives at the Karasuno General Sports Park Gymnasium at 9 a.m. sharp the next day, Kei tells Tadashi to the bathroom. It's not that he wholly wants to, but his other option was to start stretching with the team, and he's been avoiding Hinata pretty decently since everything. So Tadashi and the bathroom it is. "Please don't throw up," Kei monotones. "I really don't want to see that." "I was just gonna wash my face," Tadashi mumbles. He looks entirely too green for Kei's liking. "I'm fine. You don't have to come with me." "If you start puking, I'm leaving. I mean it." Tadashi cracks a smile, half-hearted but present. Are you going to say I told you so? Kei shrugs.
I'll enjoy being correct in silence, for now.
You're such a great friend, Suki.
I do my best.
Tadashi stays true to his word and keeps his breakfast down. He even acquiesces when Kei makes him drink some water. In turn, Kei endures a litany of Tadashi's anxieties and tries to bully more confidence into him with little success. For all that Kei almost doesn't recognize Tadashi sometimes, it's like he's blinked and his shadow had grown teeth. He's yet to completely shake these nerves. In a way, Kei's glad. He gets left behind enough as it is, without Tadashi completely surpassing the ability to worry. They head back to the team, and Kei had almost forgotten about Hinata until he sees him again. It all comes flooding back because Hinata is stretching and Kei's mouth goes dry. It's not like he hasn't seen Hinata stretch before. He's seen it more times than he can count, actually. These are Hinata's dynamic stretches, though. He'd picked them up after Nationals last year. Supposedly, they increase jump performance, but to Kei, they look more like a pre-warm-up warm-up routine. Lunges, squats, leg swings, hip circles. Kei's not supposed to be looking. He's not supposed to notice the way Hinata's new jersey, 7 this year, still 1 digit lower than Kei's, fits him a little more snugly than before. It clings more around his biceps, a difference that's near imperceptible to probably anyone else. The hem of his shorts shifts against his thighs as he swings his legs in a lateral pass. Nope, Kei is not looking. He's not thinking. He's not engaging in this stupid, irrational liking, no matter how much something at the back of his mind babbles, maybe. Wait, but maybe. He nudges Tadashi towards the opposite wall to do their own stretches.
Calf raises,
he mutters. Right, Tadashi says. It's a good thing Tadashi is still too preoccupied to notice what's up with Kei. He keeps his eyes locked on the floor, moving through the normal routine with Tadashi. Every time he's tempted to see what Hinata's doing now, he lifts a hand to adjust his sports glasses. Yesterday, giving Hinata the cold shoulder was easy. The impending match had channeled his focus, giving Kei a reprieve. Combined with Kei's off-court avoidance, it had put a decisive halt to the weird sort of flirting going on. Today is going to be much harder. They file onto the court for official warm-up exercises and greetings, then a huddle before the match. Hinata bounces, grinning as they await the whistle. Black and orange, Hinata wears the colors like a second skin. He catches Kei looking. He winks. All at once, Kei accepts he's not making it out of camp in one piece. He is, in fact, doomed. And after that, well, the Kesanaiki Nishi game is a mess. Or maybe it's just Kei. He watches Tadashi's nerves fall away on the court. He knew they would, even if Tadashi hadn't. The new position is awkward, and he flubs several of Kageyama's tosses in the first set, and a tense air has to be de-escalated by Inoshita. But after that, through sheer force of will, or so it seems, Tadashi plays well. The rest of the team, too. Kageyama's a setting robot, but that's not news. Inoshita's getting comfortable as captain, and his receives are shaping up. A real Sawamura in the making. Where he falters, Tanaka and Nishinoya cover, steady and reliable, both of them. And Hinata, too, plays like he always does. Excitable and dangerous, wearing a glinting, razor-edged smile. Kei manages some satisfaction when Yamamoto does a double take the first time Kesanaiki stuffs Hinata's quick, and Hinata takes it for the challenge it is, shoulders drawn forward, a wild air surrounding him. But to just say Hinata plays well is an understatement. He probably surpasses his last recorded vertical. Not that Kei is doing the mental calculation every time he spikes, just a few of them. So, in the end, it's just Kei. His reed blocking stumbles, his receives spin out, his spikes don't get through. That earns him Kageyama's ire, which only goes to irritate Kei and pull his focus out even further. He deflects a couple of balls that should have been easy gimmies and completely lets another 2 by unintentionally. The second time, Hinata's there to save it. He sets his teeth and waits for commentary that doesn't come. "Kageyama!" Hinata calls, brow furrowed, focused on the next play.
"Nice pass,"
Kageyama calls back. Kei watches, tense. He already knows the set isn't going to him, and sure enough, it's for Tanaka, calling loudly. The ball slams to the ground on Kasanagi's side. No contribution from Kei needed. As Karasuno hollers around him, he presses air out in a hiss. The muscles of his jaw feel molded in place. It's the second set and they're losing it. They're down 6 points, 5 now. And he knows half can be traced back to him. And for what? Because he's distracted? By Hinata doing the exact same thing he does in every single game? By a silly who likes who fantasy? Absolutely pathetic. Positions tick by. In the back row, Kei wonders why Ukai doesn't pull him out already. Let Narita play. It's the call Kei would make from the sidelines. When he looks over, Ukai just raises both eyebrows at him and jerks his chin towards the net. "Keep going," he's trying to say. Kei wishes he were allowed to be a quitter again. He makes it back to the net and Nishinoya switches in for Hinata. This time, Kei's first block runs decent interference. The whistle blows. Kasanaiki gets the serve. "Going out," Nishinoya shouts. Kei watches the ball sail over him without moving his head. It was an obvious call. Across the net, the first year who served it has a pinched look on his face. Don't mind," his teammate calls. At least Kei's not that embarrassing. Even distracted, he can get the ball over the net. Off Enoshida's next serve, Kasanaiki's number 5 spikes a sloppy set and Kei jumps. The spike's got power, but the angle is readable. If he can just kill this, maybe he can get back on track. It glances off his ring finger, barely. Pain jars down his hand, the cherry on top. "One touch," he grinds out. He lands following the trajectory of the ball, tense and ready to move. Kageyama's not above tossing to him 10 seconds after a deflection, and he does. Sure enough, forcing him to reach, really reach for it. The point doesn't make it. He wires his jaw against the encouragement call from the sidelines. It always grated on his nerves somewhat, the fact that there's so much of a spectator sport in volleyball. When Hinata brushes against Kei's arm while switching in, every frustration boils to the surface. He pivots half a step after him. "Watch it," he hisses. Hinata blinks at him, an expression like he's innocent, but Kei won't fall for that. "You did that on purpose," Kei says. "Did what?" Hinata paces backwards with his fingers laced behind him, all wide eyes and an edge to his grin. He says, "Hey, Suki, I thought you were ignoring me." "Not while we're playing," Kei snaps. "That's impossible." "Dumbasses, quit flirting," Kageyama snaps. "We're in the middle of a match, idiots." "Sorry, Yama." Hinata says it like he isn't and scurries away. Kei knows his face is bright red. There's a furnace lodged in his ribs, heat venting for whatever escape it can find. Kageyama called his argument with Hinata flirting in front of the entire team, coaches, and opponents. He thinks he hears Tanaka laughing at them and decides that actually he does not. Maybe Kageyama's the one who's going to be doomed by the end of the week. If it doesn't happen naturally, Kei could be convinced to give karma a helping hand. Kei's not the only one who's pissed, though. Kageyama yanks on his arm to bring him to his level, gets in his face.
At least keep it off the court or I'll kick both of your asses.
Kei jerks his arm away.
Tell Hinata that.
Kageyama's eyes, dark and bottomless, skip back and forth over Kei's face.
And you need to focus.
Sorry, not all of us are inhuman volleyball machines.
Get it together.
Kageyama snaps.
You were fine yesterday, but now you're playing like shit. What's gotten into you?
You should fucking know, Your Majesty.
Kageyama pauses. He dares to glance at Hinata, hopping toe to toe on the other side of the attack line from them. He has marginally more tact and a measure less anger in his tone when he asks,
Did something happen?
No.
Kei grits out. Kageyama chews on that for a moment, but the whistle blows before he can reply, so he just shakes his head sharply.
Pay attention,
he says.
Whatever,
Kei mutters. Somehow, they even out the score and take the second set. Kei starts the third set on the sidelines, watching the serve from Kusanagi Nishi's ace. A burly third year with hair like it's been through a wind tunnel. He tries to focus on the game, to break down plays, to understand Kusanagi's strategies, which players they lean on, the way they're thinking on the other side of the court. He really does, but he's mostly watching Hinata's sprints and leaps. He's compact, so much strength coiled down like a waiting spring. There's power that lives in his calves, the balls of his feet, like a taunt, knowing that only makes Kei want to push for more. Tsukishima-senpai! It's Yamamoto, fidgeting next to him.
What?
Is there something wrong with Hinata-senpai's form, or... Kei clicks his tongue and doesn't bother replying. In the end, they don't eke out the win, even after playing 5 sets at the behest of both coaches. The team drags themselves back to campus in mixed spirits. Hinata and Kageyama are loud as ever, and Tadashi is boisterous too. But the first years seem disappointed. Kei keeps to himself. After lunch, Takeda shepherds them back to the gym, where they spend an hour discussing the match in mind-numbing detail. Kei's nearly fallen asleep on the heel of his hand, which is indefinitely better than being repeatedly reminded of the ways his head was screwed on wrong today. Okay, enough of that. Ukai flips the papers on his clipboard over and tucks the whole thing under his arm. He grins broadly at the team. You've worked hard all week, so we've got a surprise for you this afternoon. It better not be more dishes, bro, Tanaka stage whispers. He's silenced with one look from Inoshita. Kei slouches, working his thumb against the cap of his water bottle, watching Ukai warily. He doesn't want another surprise. He wants to stretch every sore muscle and tendon and then pass out for 10 hours. Nope, way better than dishes. Ukai leans forward, like he's got some secret to impart. We've got visitors. Is it another practice match? Kase asks, tentative. An exhausted groan rises from a few people. No more matches. Hinata's hand shoots in the air, and he all but vibrates in place, asking, without waiting to be called on, Another game? With who?
Shut up, dumbass,
Kageyama hisses, swiping the back of Hinata's head.
Let him talk, and he'll tell us.
Kei hides his snort as a cough when Hinata whips around, half glaring and half pouting.
Only freaks would want to play another match after this week,
Kei says deliberately to no one in particular. How about with your old senpais? From the gym door, pushing aside the netting, Sugawara, of all people, pops his head in. Suga-senpai! Hinata yelps, miniature feud with Kei forgotten. He doesn't wait for a reply. He leads the charge, Nishinoya on his heels. Several others scramble to their feet as well. Kageyama and Tanaka won't be left behind, as their previous captain and ace appear behind Sugawara, grinning and waving.
Despite himself, Kei can admit this isn't a bad one as far as surprises go. Oi! Ukai barks, waving his clipboard to shoo the grads back out. You little attention seekers, I hadn't announced anything yet. Sorry, coach. Suga waves him off, laughing. He slings an arm around Tanaka's shoulders, steadying him. He'd just about tackled Suga to holler in his ear. Behind them, Azumane hits the wall, trying to catch Nishinoya's flying leap. It turns into a mob. Ukai shrugs and relinquishes his tenuous grip on order. Kei takes that as a sign to retreat. But it's just his luck. Suga quickly sets his sights on Kei and makes a beeline for him, arms open. Tsukishima! I missed that grumpy face. Aren't you excited to see us?
Never.
He ekes away from Suga's steel trap arms. You wound me. Suga clutches at his heart. Cruel, cruel Tsukishima. What are you doing here? Nishinoya asks, voice raised over the hubbub. He doesn't look like he just collected himself from a heap on the floor, even though he did. I thought you all scattered to the four winds. We're in town for Golden Week to see our families, Sawamura says, and most of the team still falls quiet to listen to him, even after an official transfer of power. I asked Coach if we could come by for an afternoon. All of you? Tanaka asks eagerly. Is Kyoko here? She said she'd come for dinner. Tanaka and Nishinoya fall into exaggerated swoons, and Kei scoffs. For the second time today, he realizes he probably could be doing a lot worse. Takeda cuts in, insisting on proper instructions between the grads and the first years, but the proper aspect falls apart before it can even begin when Hinata snags Yamamoto's arm and drags him to the front of the group. Yamamoto stumbles and swallows nervously. This is Yamamoto, but we call him Moto-kun, Hinata says. I'm training him. Ooh, your own mini-me, Suga coos. He pats Yamamoto on the head, and Yamamoto looks sort of like he wants the ground to swallow him whole. I'm Yamamoto Ikeda, he squeaks. It's nice to meet you, Sugawara-senpai. Just Suga. Suga corrects him. Are you a middle blocker, Moto-kun? Maybe? Yamamoto says. Who knows yet? Nishinoya slugs him in the arm as if that would make him loosen up. All it does is rattle him further. Kei's pretty sure he hears his teeth chatter. Sawamura swoops in. Nice to meet you. I'm Daichi, he says warmly, then turns to Nishinoya and Hinata, laughing. What's wrong with calling him Yamamoto? Hinata said it'd get confusing because of Nekoma's Yamamoto, Nishinoya said. Hinata nods vigorously. It would! How much do you guys plan to play Nekoma this year? Sawamura asks. Enoshida shrugs. As many times as we can haul our butts to Tokyo.
Every month, maybe,
Kageyama says. That depends on funding, Enoshida reminds him. And permission. I kind of miss the Tokyo camps, Azumane says with a half laugh. But I also kind of won't. Why's that? Yamamoto asks hesitantly. They're pretty intense. It's fun, don't worry, Hinata promises, mostly an aside as he drags his next victim forward. This is Ishii. He's a wing spiker. You should see him go wham! And Iguchi and Kase, they're both middle blockers like me and Suki.
What?
Kei mutters.
Don't point me out specifically.
Somewhere behind him, he hears Narita call, Yeah, you two aren't the only middle blockers, Hinata. Hinata flushes, sputters. I just meant, Tsukishima's been training them. Uh-huh, Narita says. And I haven't? Kei squints at Hinata, who's puffing up his cheeks and making excuses. It's pretty typical behavior for Hinata when it comes down to it, but that treacherous little pit of hope gnaws at Kei's chest. The one that really wants to believe he's special. That chance. Maybe. Hey, who do you think is taller? Suga asks, pointing between Kei and Iguchi.
Azumane looks between them, thinking. Tsukishima, I think. Iguchi shrugs. Probably. Let's test it, Hinata urges, eager for the distraction.
Let's not. Kei drones. He's ignored.
He hates every second of the following contest, even though Iguchi is predictably deemed shorter by about 2.5 inches. Tadashi eventually takes pity on him and drags the last first year into the limelight. We can't forget Saito-kun, our baby setter. Tadashi flourishes. Kageyama's own.
Am I a dad now?
Kageyama grumbles. Saito, the asshole, bows formally for his introduction. Pleased to meet you. I'm Saito Kunio, and I played setter for Nanakita Junior High. Oh, in Sendai? Sawamura asks. How's the competition there? There's some discussion of regions and schools, which Kei tunes out, trying to subtly snuff out the hungry little creature in his chest with the heel of his hands. There's too many people, too much noise, too much wanting and anticipation swirling a mess inside him. He's powerless to do anything about it, and he resents that fact, resents the current threatening to pick him up and hurtle him into the unknown depths. Well, what are we waiting for? Sawamura asks. Let's play. Since Ukai and Takeda had long ago left them to their own devices, it's up to them to sort out teams. They form 3 groups and decide on a bracket system. Kageyama and Tadashi wind up on the team headed by Enoshida, and Kei finds himself with Sawamura. As their new group huddles up, Hinata gravitates towards Kei. We're on the same team again, he says. Kei hums in acknowledgement, not encouragement. Are you still trying to ignore me? Hinata asks.
No.
Good. I'm just saying, though, it's like we're always on the same team. Hinata goes on. I don't know if Ukai was doing that on purpose or what, but how am I supposed to win our bet if I don't get to play against you?
I never agreed to that bet.
Kei says.
Don't expect any money from me.
2,000 yen, Hinata declares, as if Kei could have forgotten. I'm going to beat your block, and if it's not this week, then it's 4,000 yen. Got it? Kei grunts. Nothing to say? Hinata asks. You must really be afraid I'll get past you, Suki. He knows Hinata well, but that's not the problem here. The problem is he can't soothe the creature of his body. It's back. It's worse. Transmuting from something that whispers and chews and hisses at the back of his mind into something that roars, that rattles, that begs him to reach out now. Because Hinata's shoulders are the perfect height for Kei to imagine wrapping an arm around, because his skin is flushed in lingering patches on his cheeks and forehead, and he doesn't know the texture. Because Hinata is comprised of compact power and he's unattainably close. Hinata was right when he accused Kei of being bad at ignoring him. Their one-sided conversation hangs between them. Kei contemplates whether or not he'd ever live it down if he claimed a headache just to get away. Probably not. Hinata's shoes squeak as he scuffs them against the floor. Hey, Suki! Tsukishima?
What?
Hinata's worrying his bottom lip between his teeth, eyebrows pulled together. Strands of hair have dried in sweaty curls against his temples, which should be disgusting, but isn't. Are you actually mad at me? Kei nudges the frames of his sports glasses, just for something to do. Because if you're actually mad at me, I'll give you some space, Hinata says. I thought you were, joking mad, but we haven't really talked since yesterday, so... The way his eyes are searching Kei's face makes his stomach do something funny, twingy and squinty. Kei closes his eyes briefly.
No, Hinata, I'm not angry at you.
Yeah? Then what's up? Kei scrunches his nose. Suki! Hinata's not going to leave this alone, is he? You can talk to me, Hinata says softly.
Kesanaiki sucked.
Kesanaiki? I thought they were pretty good.
The match sucked. I sucked.
Hinata doesn't miss a beat, shrugging. Yeah, a little. Something bitter and disappointed surges alongside embarrassment, tangling the mess of Kei's stomach into something completely incomprehensible.
Thanks, Hinata.
He bites out. But you know what went wrong? Hinata asks.
Too well.
And it was still fun, wasn't it?
Not really, Kei wants to say, but he also wants to end this conversation, wants to quell the buzzing beneath his skin and the hungry beast in his chest. It would be easy to say no, and it would be true, but Hinata wouldn't accept that answer, and...
It had its moments.
Kei hedges. Very few, but he'd made a couple of good plays near the end, and he'd not disliked watching Hinata jump. Hinata's grin is crooked and utterly, utterly irresistible.
That's what matters then,
he says. Kei thumbs his mouth, turning away.
Sure, whatever.
This time, Hinata doesn't prod, just takes his cue to get involved in the strategy conversation that had started in their absence. Kageyama's standing at the edge of his group, watching, considering, the asshole. Kei reluctantly takes up a spot near him, since he doesn't intend to strategize with the team until Sawamura forces him. Besides, he knows now that if he doesn't make this conversation happen, Kageyama will, whether Kei wants him to or not.
Monitoring your subjects, your majesty?
He asks dryly. Kageyama scrunches his nose.
No, blatant lie.
Kageyama is unduly serious.
What are you going to do with Hinata? I told you, nothing.
Kageyama raises both eyebrows.
Right, because there's already nothing happening.
Kei closes his eyes briefly and lets honesty seep through.
I wish you didn't care so much.
He'd been doing fine until Kageyama started caring, smoothing stones and letting them sink. And now, hope all he wants. It's still too risky. It can only have a messy ending, one that takes every good thing he's been undeservingly given and rots it to the soil. It's a foregone conclusion. Kei's never been in a relationship before, but he already knows he wouldn't be very good at it. He's not built for it the way that Hinata is, because Hinata is built for people and for more. And what's Kei built for? Self-deprecation and safety nets? Sinking, not swimming?
Sorry,
Kageyama murmurs. Kei shakes his head.
Just forget it, King. It's nothing.
Maybe, if he says it enough, he'll believe that's what he wants. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me for Chapter 2. I hope this doesn't end up sounding too rough because I really don't want to re-record it. But yeah, I should have known better. Knowing what my voice sounded like before I started, I should have known that I couldn't do it. So I really hope that this one doesn't sound too bad and that it was still really enjoyable to listen to. I hope that you guys enjoyed this second chapter, and I hope that you guys will come back for Chapter 3 so that we can see everything that's happening between all of these boys and see if something finally starts happening between Tsukishima and Hinata. Alright, if you guys come back and join me for another video, then I'll see you next time. These voices are killing me today.
I'm pretty sure I've lost Kageyama's voice. I don't think I can get down that low right now. Damn.
Oh, Sawamura's Daichi. My god, I don't think I've ever called him Sawamura. Damn.